I hope you're well. In this one I'm going to be giving a few more thoughts on the Festool Sustainer saw, the CSC Sys 50 that I've had for a little over a week now. We've got some new Bluetooth batteries for it, so I'm going to go through the process for pairing those, and we're going to be making a very simple little flip stop or flag stop to make repeat cuts much easier. But before we get to that, I'm just going to answer a few of your questions that I had from the previous video. So question number one, the most asked question, is it the perfect saw for doll's houses? I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. I've never made a doll's house before. I suspect the capacities might be a little bit large for you. Doll's houses floats you boat, then, you know, more power to you. There's a smaller model maker's saw by Proxon, I think, that might be a little bit more appropriate. Some of the capacities on this might be a little bit large for you, but I would imagine it will do perfectly well, whatever you decide to do with it. Second question that came up a lot was, how is that a sustainer saw? Well, fairly obviously, it is a much larger than average sustainer, which goes over it, and then the standard size sustainers will stack on the end of it like so, and that whole thing will go onto the trolley where it forms part of the system. And the sort of follow-on question to that was, am I going to show how it breaks down where you need to park all the components to get it back into the sustainer? And the truth is probably not. It's just not something I'm planning on doing, which is why I didn't buy the trolley for it. All I'm going to do with it is move it from there to probably here somewhere for its final resting place after I've built the cabinet, which will be coming along shortly. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get these Bluetooth batteries connected to the vac if we can. I've been told they're really easy to connect. I've also been told they can affect your battery life having it connected as Bluetooth. So I thought I'd take the opportunity, as I've got two of them, both 5.2 amp, both charged fully, both purchased at the same time from the same batch and both charged on the same charger. I thought I'd take the opportunity just to connect one of them via Bluetooth. They're only ever going to run on this saw, and I'll be able to monitor whether one discharges faster than the other. As I say, it's supposed to be really quick and easy to do. Take the battery off. You can connect it to any power tool. So I'll put it on this old drill. You just either hit the Bluetooth button on the vacuum, or you can do it on the remote here. Okay, so you can mark that one up as having Bluetooth connected. So, a couple more thoughts on this generally. I said in the previous video, I didn't particularly like this segmented blade guard. I am kind of warming to it a little bit. Obviously, it will take into account when you bevel the blade over at an angle. It'll stay active, which is good. Also, I've realised on a traditional blade guard like this one, if it was connected to the riving knife, you typically need to have the blade further out than you normally would in order to clear the connection, whereas with this one it actually clears the blade completely, so that's a fairly good thing. So you know, I'm begrudgingly coming to terms with the idea of that. I know I did make a bit of a fuss about the fence on this and the looseness of it. I did say that it's and the mitre gauge locked down very securely and work perfectly, and obviously the digital goodness doesn't transfer across to the fence. That's sort of unfortunate, but honestly, if you can't line the edge of something with a pencil mark or with a line on a scale, then woodworking probably isn't going to be the most rewarding of occupations or hobbies for you. So yes, it would have been nice to have micro adjustment or something like that, but for whatever reason they decided not to. I didn't really talk about the fence in a great deal of detail. What you can do with it obviously is remove the rip fence side of things and drop it down so that you get a lower fence that will actually then sneak in under the blade guard for very narrow cuts, and of course you can use it set back if you are using the sliding table. You're not at risk of using both the fence and the sliding table, the crosscut arm at the same time. One thing that I hadn't fully appreciated with this is that of course you can remove that entirely, and it is compatible with the mitre gauge. So that gives it a much wider option on the crosscut, and also means that you've got a slot in here that you can put a repeat stop onto. Not only that, but you can then put the mitre gauge fence back here as a rip fence. So again, if you are using it for crosscuts, you can actually bear against this fence as well and not have the fence come past the blade. So very useful, a very important safety tip. And it's this slot that we're going to make our simple little flip stop for. So I've already ripped a 10mm wide strip of 6mm birch ply. That's a nice snug fit for the extrusion there. We just need a little piece for the body now, and I've got a little offcut. It's about the right size, anywhere between sort of 50 or 60mm is going to be good enough for this. And I want to cut that to just over the thickness, just over the width of the fence in this position. You'll see why later on. That's about 40mm, so we'll just do that now quickly. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to drill this through on the drill press and then cut off the bit that's going to act as the flag. I'm using a 5mm by 25mm dowel pin as the pivot, so I need about 12mm cut off this. And because it's such a small piece, I'm just going to use a backer board to help push it through. Then I can set the fence to a hair under 40mm and trim the body of the stock back so that it fits comfortably onto the fence. I need a skinny little strip of 12mm cut to the same width as the pivoting part, and then I need to cut that down to the right height. And again, because it's such a small part, I'll use an offcut as a backing board to keep this safe. So those are our components. We need to mark on the body where the centre of the slot comes, so that we can drill a hole to take our Bristol lever. And with the body in position, I can use that same 6mm bit just to mark the point of where we need to drill out. I'm putting a little drizzle of thin CA adhesive into the hole that we've just drilled, and while that dries I can round off the end of the pivoting arm. And then back to the bar where I can tap in an M6 thread. The CA glue helps to keep the fibres together. You could just bodge the M6 screw in there and make the thread that way. I've done that plenty of times, but it's easy for it to go in slightly offline, and there's not a lot of clearance in this slot, and I wouldn't want it to start to bind. Okay, so these are all the bits that we've got. We've got the body drilled out to take the 6mm Bristol lever and countersunk, counterbored, so that it goes in far enough. We've got the pivot rounded over so it doesn't catch, and we've got the little flag to glue onto that. We've got the piece that goes in the T-slot as well, tapped to take the M6 Bristol lever, and we've got the little 5mm dowel pin that connects them all together to make the pivot. Let's put these together. We'll swap the fence and the mitre gauge around, put these together, see if it works. While that happens, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my 10 Minute Workshop Plus members for their support and encouragement, and for the conversations that we have that really help shape these public-facing videos. If you'd like to be part of that conversation, part of the community, there are more details in the video description at 10minuteworkshop.com, or you could sign up directly at 10minuteworkshop.plus. We'd love to have you on board and taking part. So there you go, super simple little flag stop or flip stop, obviously designed so that you can keep the stop in place but flip it out of the way when you don't want to do repeat cuts. very simply put together just from bits of scrap, and obviously designed with the Festool fence in mind, twizzed around so that it's working off the mitre gauge. But of course this general design will work with anything that's got a T-slot, so you can adapt the overall design to a bandsaw or another table saw or whatever you want. I really think it's going to help to get repeat crosscuts on it, and there'll be more to come on this saw. I'm really pleased with the saw overall. It's working out really well, and obviously if the capacities don't work for you, then it's probably not for you. Talking of capacities, the batteries, I've been keeping an eye on those, and the Bluetooth battery still has a full charge, but actually the battery that doesn't have Bluetooth on it now is showing 2/3 charge. So I don't know if there's any truth to the fact that Bluetooth discharges your battery faster. If that's something you've experienced, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll continue to monitor these two batteries as we go. But I'm going to call this one done for now. Thanks ever so much for taking a look, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. All right, take care.